Hello, hello, hello. If you are just coming in, come on and just tell me that you're here by telling me your name. That would be so helpful. I'm having some technical difficulties on my end, so please forgive me. Let me see. I see that we have someone in here. Hello, hello, hello. Let me see. I cannot see everyone's comments, so just bear with me a second. I see what I have to do. Okay. I think that will help. If you can do me a favor and leave a comment to let me know that you're in, that would be so helpful. Hello, hello, hello. If you are here, please share a comment that you are here to let us know that you are in the room. I see people coming in and out, but I'm not certain of who is present. Hello. I can't see anyone's comments, but I'm hoping that you all could hear me. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to connect with everyone. 1 second. Bear with me, please. We're going to get this. We are going to get this. I just sent a comment. If you can hear me and see me, please, and see my comment that I just posted, if you can be so kind to try to respond back, that will be helpful before we get started in this wonderful masterclass. All right, one moment. Okay, bear with me 1 second, you all. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure that we could communicate via the chat and get started because your questions are going to be so important to this conversation. If you just bear with me 1 moment. Thank you for your patience. All right. All right. It looks like we have 4 people in the room here. One second. One second. One moment, please. All right. All right. I apologize. One moment. We are going to proceed on here in a moment. Hello, hello, everyone. I think we are good. I'm praying that we are good. For those of you that are here, please try to comment in the chat here so I can see you all here. Yay! I think we got it fixed. Hey, Jess. Oh my goodness. I apologize, you all. I super apologize. I did a full training on this StreamYard, but didn't realize that there was a um restriction that I needed to remove off of YouTube, which is where this is being recorded. So I apologize for my delay. Thank you so much for your patience and for being here. I'm super pumped up. I'm glad that you're here. I have so much to share with you, and I'm excited to help you really progress in your wellness journey. So, for those that are here, hey, Pastor Karen, so glad you are here. Thank you for helping me out. I know I have a couple others that will be joining us, but I just wanted to just take a moment to thank you. We are already like 25 minutes into our session, which you will get every bit of the session in full. I'm wide awake and ready to roll. So I want to just, first of all, thank you for signing up for this class. I think it's super important to talk about nutrition and to understand its importance as we navigate our health and wellness. I know many of you have shared with me personally what your journey has been like and what your goals are. I'm excited to be able to help you even further and assist you in that process. So we're going to go ahead and get started. But before we get started, I want you to utilize this comment chat section that we had such a hard time getting up and going. I want you all to tell me what your struggles are specifically. If you can name one struggle that you have um, when it comes to your health and nutrition, what would you say that is? Just give me one. Let me make this bigger. There we go. What is your number one struggle with your health, with your nutrition? Discipline. Karen says discipline. I agree. I think the discipline piece. Oh, Jesse says stress eating. Oh my goodness. I understand all of that. We're going to talk about that. And I'm so glad that you said discipline because there is a strategy that I want to share with you all that is going to take discipline. It is going to take another level of commitment. But I think that you wouldn't be here if you did not want to do this. So I'm excited to be able to help you figure this out. So welcome to the Winning with Nutrition Masterclass. We're going to be talking about 3 keys to getting you to the goal. Right? We're going to identify and eliminate your food triggers. So we're going to talk about those triggers. What triggers you to stress eat? What triggers you to not stay the course when it comes to being disciplined? What causes you to get into a repetitive cycle? I want to talk to you about this. And I also want to have this session to be more interactive. So I'll be asking you questions and really showing you a lot of content. So please take notes. I do have a PDF plan for you, which is yours to keep. It's yours to edit, print off. It's all for you. I created it just for you. And in that, we're going to actually build our own 7-day meal plan, which is going to be excellent. So I'm going to show you how best to do that. And we'll do that at the end. But we're going to really just cover some groundwork right here and kind of get into some of the foundational pieces when it comes to nutrition with anything. It's really important to understand the foundation, understand your why and why things are the way they are so you can be really successful in the action of those things. So let's move on to about why I'm doing this. We care about your health, all right? We strive to provide a space where we can connect you, people, all of us in practical ways to manage and reach your health and wellness goals. And although there are many elements to wellness and nutrition, it is super important for our overall wellness success. It is said that 70%, 75% of your health goals, so I'm talking about not just your nutrition, but your fitness goals, your mental health, your overall care of your temple of your body. 75% of that is food, which is super important. And it's the most challenging portion of our success when we talk about health and nutrition, or health and wellness rather. So let's just talk about it. Nutrition is king. I always say that nutrition is the number one thing that you need in order to succeed. You need to be able to trump it because it trumps you, right? If you have a poor diet or you consume less dense nutrition food, it is going to take you outside of your goals. It's going to take you outside of what you are trying to achieve when it comes to your health and your wellness. So it's important to understand what nutrition is. Nutrition is basically food you consume that has nutrient dense value, that has a value within its surplus that feeds your body at a cellular level. That's what nutrition is. There is a big difference between nutrition and diet, which I'll get into a second. But nutrition is important because of the fact that it is nutrient dense, which means it feeds our cells, it feeds our body, it feeds all of our organs in the way that they need to thrive and succeed, right? So let's talk about that. How does nutrition affect our overall goals? Now, I guess I should start with the nutrition and diet, which are two separate things. A diet, I already just told you what nutrition is. A diet is basically a lifestyle of food of choice, right? So your diet could be you eat whole foods. That's your diet. You strictly eat whole foods. You eat nothing else but things that come from the ground, which is you eat, of course, your meats, but you would eat vegetables and fruits and grains and things of that nature, things that are in their most wholest form. That's a diet. Vegan, that's also a diet. If you're a vegan, you would typically just eat foods that do not have any animal byproduct in them, which many of us know. There is a slight difference, not a slight difference, a huge difference between a vegan and then a junk food vegan. Let me just also put this note here that every diet that you have or that is out there can be altered and be poor. You can have a poor whole food diet. Although most likely the whole food poor diet, meaning that you're eating foods that are not super good, like if you're eating vegetables that are not organic, or if you're eating, when I say vegetables that are not organic, a lot of the vegetables and fruits that we do get, unfortunately, are, sprayed with, herbicide and pesticides, which are definitely not good for you. I automatically suggest that everyone uses organic, produce, but that's more or less on the low end. So your whole food diet is probably the safest diet to have when it comes to eating well, even though you do have an option to, not eat organic foods. Veganism, there is, of course, we all know junk food for vegans. There's potato chips, which is clearly a vegan item. It doesn't have any dairy in it, but it is a junk food item. So that's what I mean with diet. It's just the way that you eat. It's what you eat, and you do it on a consistent basis. There is a huge difference in between nutrition and diet. Nutrition, again, holds a more dense value to your overall needs that your body would need. When you have nutrient dense foods, it's actually pulling out vitamins and nutrients from those foods into your body. Whereas a diet may not necessarily be that, because of the option to actually eat junk food or eat poorly when you're on a certain diet. If you have any questions about that, or any questions when I'm talking, please feel free to put them in the chat so we can answer them even as we go. I do not mind that, even though we're having a Q&A at the end where I can answer any of your questions. I'm open to all of that, and I'm excited to do so. Another thing that we have to be consider when we talk about nutrition and it being king is being mindful that that's what it is, that what you put in your body, it is vitally important to your overall goal, what you consume. So there has to be a connection between what you buy at the grocery store and how you are going to consume that and why you're going to consume that. As you can see, this woman has a bag of fresh produce, whole foods that I'm sure that she has an intention to eat, and prepare for her day or for her week. That is a mindset that we go into the grocery store and we get the foods that we need that will bring us the value that we need to our body. So that's what we want to keep in mind with nutrition, keeping it and knowing it as king. Now, understanding your diet. We talked about a few diets. So I want to know, what diet are you on? Many of us kind of vacillate with diets. We go back and forth. So just put in the chat what diet that you are specifically on right now, because I want to help navigate with you when we do our meal planning here. I want to be able to help you pick out the foods that you need, but I want to know what type of diet you are on at the moment. I'm going to put mine in here as well. What diet are you on? Are you on a diet? That's a good question. I guess I should ask. Are you on a diet? What diet do you currently have? Some people eat raw. I actually was talking to a young lady today. We actually did a live together, and our food consumption is pretty much the same. We actually are on a program that really cleanses the body and helps us to bring high alkalinity to the body, which basically is really just regenerating your cells, helping your cells to be regenerated. Karen said, whatever I have a taste for, I love it. Jesse says, more towards whole foods. I do look for the lower calorie things when I go for things that may be processed. That's a good comment. I'm glad that you are sharing that, because many of us, when we go to do that, to get something sweet or crunchy, we go for the low calorie. But I'm totally, I'm half and half. So I think that when you're in a pinch and you need to, satisfy a craving, I say I would rather you do that than a Snickers bar, right? But I do equally think that they're not good for you either. And sometimes they can defeat the whole purpose of your goal. Can you imagine just doing super, super good all throughout the day, and then you eat something that will throw your body completely off? And we'll talk about the microbiome here in a minute, but it's really important that we understand that when we put food in our body, whatever the food choice is, it is communicating something to our microbiome, right? Our microbiome is our gut, right? Our gut communicates to our brain what it's craving, and it craves whatever you put in there. So if I put in more chemicals, glyphosate is basically sprayed on almost all of our food and majority of produce. This is why organic is really important, to keep us, or basically they do that to make money, but that's a whole nother conversation, to kind of make the reproduction of fruits and veggies quicker. But it's completely harmful to the body. It causes cancer, and it's sprayed amongst our produce foods and even our packaged items. So when we learn that and we know that, we are in a position now to make a choice as to what is the best option for us to eat. So, so to that point, what you're saying, when you go out and you try to eat whole foods, I think they're 1,000% the way to go. But if you're in a pinch, try to make sure that it's something that you can read all of the ingredients. It's not like 10, 15 ingredients on the back of the package. It's more or less like 3, 4, 5 items where you can identify what they are. That's super important to know that. I like to play it safe personally, and I eat a lot of popcorn when I want something crunchy. When I want something sweet, I will tend to get the dark chocolate, the real high, I think it's like 70% cacao, and I may get like them covered in almonds, something like that, to kind of get that chocolate feeling. But there's so many things that are out there, believe it or not, that can support a sweet tooth. Jesse, I think you and I talked a little bit ago, and you gave a great recipe for some cookies that you found and made, and you said they were good, and actually the ingredients were great. So there's so many different options out there that can support you, and we'll talk about that as we plan ahead. But being on a diet is great, but I want to know how many of you stick to a diet long enough to see the results. That's the question at hand. Have you stuck with a diet, whether it's whole foods, raw, pescatarian, vegan? Have you stuck with it long enough for it to stick and for you to see a result? Right? Let's think about that. Have we sat with ourselves long enough with a diet to see if it even worked? When I say worked, I mean, I don't mean just losing weight. I mean, do you feel good? Some people say, Joyce, when I eat vegan, I feel so good. Well, that's a clear indication that your body just might like that, and that's okay. Some people feel amazing eating raw and they don't want to eat meat at all. You did several years ago. That's awesome. And how did you feel? Like, how did you feel in general? Did you feel like it was something that you can do for forever? Did you feel served? Did you feel vibrant? Did you feel like it was serving your body? Most of the time when we adapt to a diet and we stick with it, it will do just that. You will feel good. You would, wow, she said she maintained it for about 5 years. That is awesome. Oh, I love that. What diet was it, I wonder? And it's amazing. Yeah, she says she felt wonderful. Karen says she felt wonderful. And I do encourage you all to do that. And the reason I say that is because I'm such a big advocate for focusing in on what works for an individual. We are all different. We are biomedically different. If I go to the hospital and we all go together and we will have a different blood type, we will respond differently to whatever is presented to us. We're just different. We're made up differently, right? And that's okay. I think it's really important. She said low calorie diet. Yes, that's awesome. And the funny thing is, there's a lot of history behind the low calorie diet because it's not really, it's not super sustainable. However, during that time, and I know that many, many, many people were. It's same with being low fat or having low fat diets. But I'm so open to helping people understand that they are an individual and certain foods work best for them. I often tell my clients that my husband can eat a certain way that I just don't really vibe with. I don't feel good with it. He absolutely loves to eat a certain way. I just don't. And I'm okay with that. We've learned to be able to understand that this is what works for us. So I want you all to think about, before we get into our meal planning and working out our plans, I want you to begin to understand what your diet actually is. I want you to define that, you know what, I'm going to stick with raw eating, or I'm going to stick with whole foods, right? I want you to decide that today, because we're going to do these plans and I want you to execute them next week. That is your assignment. You won't see me in a class next week, but this is my assignment I give to you for you joining this class. I'm giving you an assignment to really take this serious. I can't tell you how many people go in a vicious cycle, round and round and round and round, because they are indecisive with what they want to do. And I think it starts with knowing what kind of diet you want. When we start there, when we start and realize, okay, this is how I want to eat. I made a decision. I thought about it. I sat with myself. I wrote my notes. I found out what would work for me. Try it out for a couple of days, or think about it for a couple of days. See recall how you used to eat, recall what worked, and really settle in on that. And you are going to build your meal plan tonight based off of what you decide. So I want you to really think about that. Really, really, really think about that. So Karen says she had 4 ounces of proteins, 4 ounces of veggies, twice a day, no sugar. And let me tell you, I have a client right now doing no sugar. It's amazing. She looks amazing. She feels amazing. And it's just an amazing thing. I think that's an amazing process to even go through, because everything has sugar in it. Like, she doesn't eat ketchup. If she eats ketchup, she'll get the no sugar ketchup. She cut it completely out in March, I think, and she's going to stick with it. At least she's going to try it for the whole year. So she's been very consistent. She's lost 2.5 inches off of her waist just from doing that. So I do recommend. So if you want to get even that defined in terms of this is the type of, I want to eat clean and I want to eat no sugar, I'm okay with that. But I want you to decide today, because the purpose of this class is for you to leave understanding where you are, what the barriers have been, and where you need to go. And you're going to leave here with a plan. So I want you to think about that, right? Again, there's many options. I only put 4 here. I put keto, vegan, right? Everyone loves vegan. I used to be vegan myself. Pescatarian, raw. I eat meat still. I'm not super crazy about vegan because it's a lot of prep work and there's a lot of processed foods out there when it comes to vegan lifestyle that I just don't agree with. So I moved away from there because my schedule and life do not permit me to cook the way I would like to being vegan. So once we understand our diet, let's define your goal. What is your goal? Is your goal to lose weight? Some people want to gain weight. Some people want to heal. They just want to restore their cells. They want to just heal, right? There's maybe somebody has gone to the doctors and they have a report about, their health and they want to make that change. Maybe you just want to start living a healthy life, right? I know that certain things run in my family. I don't have them. I get my checkups often, but my goal is to be healthy. That's my goal. I used to love thinking about losing weight. I never had the problem of desiring to gain weight, but I desire to be healthy. So now let's determine that goal. Now that we know how we want to eat, or we're thinking about how we want to eat, write it down, because we're going to need to have that in mind when we make our plan here. But you want to have an understanding of what your goal is. I often say to my clients that if you want to go somewhere, like if I live in Pennsylvania and if I want to get to Florida, I have to have a roadmap to get there. I can't just get in the car and start driving north or south. I have to make the decision that, you know what? I need direction. I need a goal. How long is it going to take me to get there? Which direction do I go? This is the moment that you have to begin to do that, which is define your goal. Karen says to lose weight and have maintained a healthy lifestyle. I love, love, love that. I love that. They are both achievable, Karen. You can do that. Jesse, what is your goal? I'm not sure if Lois is in here. I'm hoping that you are, dear. I see you someone coming in and out. Or Brandy, if you're in here, hello to you too, ladies. Please feel free to drop a comment in the chat. Jesse, what is your goal? What is your goal? Let's talk about the goal. As I mentioned, mine is to stay healthy and well and not to, I don't want to, I think everybody feels like this. They don't want to go to the doctors and have a bad report based off of poor choices that we can change, that we can definitely change. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about our food triggers. Jesse says to lose weight. That's the number one thing. I love it. Perfect. And you're on such a good path, Jesse. I love where you are. I love where you are right now. Let's talk about these food triggers. So now that we know what kind of diet we want to be on, right? Whether it's whole food, raw, and we understand where our goal is. Our goal is to lose weight, maintain weight, be healthy. We have to identify what our triggers are. What are our triggers? Is chocolate candy your triggers? Is fast food your triggers? Is donuts your triggers? Is soda pop your triggers? Is your environment your triggers? There are people who have problems with just their environment, meaning they're in situations where they haven't built up enough willpower to endure and that they have to face every day, like their job. Does your job provide these sweet trigger foods that would cause you to be in a compromised situation? Does your spouse or significant other bring foods in the house that are not in line with your goals? Right? Do your children often call you and say, hey, let's go out to lunch, and you love to spend time with your children and you don't have the willpower to get a salad or something that is nutrient dense off the menu? Do you do what I used to do and just sneak food in the house and save it for when you're bored at night and it's late and you had a long day and you want something sweet? Identify what your triggers are. We need to know what they are prior to us going into the next phase. I love what Karen just said. She said, my schedule. When I'm busy, I tend to just grab something quick. That is the way of the world, unfortunately, and that's so true. Even I am guilty of that. I wish I had my bottle up here, but this is another reason why I joined the program that I'm currently on to reset my body. The program is through Purium, which is a high alkaline food distributor where they really have high quality food, but they have these protein smoothies that are delicious and filling. And I literally have that available because sometimes I too get so busy. I'm at my computer working, I have deadlines, and I know I need to eat. So that's a good observation. So what could you do, Karen, because of your schedule? I can give you some ideas. When it comes to your schedule. And I don't know what your schedule entails, but I can give a scenario. So if you are, I'm assuming you work a lot of hours, or you're working in a rhythm where you're not stationary, or you're not able to get to the food that you want to get to. Have you ever tried, and this is not just for Karen, it's for everybody, even for my replayers. If it's not, if you're in a place where you are moving about all the time, is there a way that you can actually pre-pack, right? Pre-pack your lunch, pre-pack your dinner, pre-pack your breakfast. We're going to do some of that today, but I just want you to think about that. You don't have to quite answer that, but meal prep when you have time, right? And that's the thing. Many of us, oh, she works from home. Okay, yes. So this is a great thing for you, Karen. And Jess, I know you work at the school, but you can do this even if you work from home or you go out of the home. What we're going to do today. You can do either way. The only thing that you have to keep in mind, and we'll talk about this because Karen alluded to this early on with the discipline, is that you're going to have to make the time. That's part of your assignment for this class, is to make that small window of time to prepare for the week. And the preparation for the week is not just meal prep, which we'll get into. Good. Okay. So Jessie says she packs lunch almost every day, basically every day. Amazing. Right. But I want to just throw this in there. I'm not trying to just throw a wrench in here to mess everyone up. But if that's something that you were able to accomplish with, packing your food every day and for your lunch, how is your return from home? Because if you're anything like me, I was like that too. I would have my breakfast and my lunch packed. I would go to work and I had a phenomenal day. Everything was packed. It was on schedule. When I got home is when it was the problem. I had a long day. Sometimes I have food in the crock pot. Sometimes I didn't. And I'm nibbling as I'm cooking. I'm grabbing the kids' snacks, right? Or I'll stop and get something on the way home because I know there'll be traffic. So I'd really like you to think about the triggers all from a holistic perspective and how you respond in your everyday life. For me, when I got home, it was just sometimes curtains. I would just literally mess up my whole day because I was just too exhausted. I didn't have things packed. My husband wasn't able to cook either. He felt just as tired as I did. The kids were hungry. And you know what I would do? I say, honey, could you do dinner tonight? And he would say, I sure can. And you know what he would do? Order pizza. Order pizza. My saving grace. So he was ordering pizza. And here I am, hungry and tired. And what did I end up doing? Eating the pizza. So that beautiful lunch I had, that beautiful breakfast I had, all packed out and I'm eating it and I'm, thinking I'm doing good. It's a full day execution. That's a full day execution. Karen said that sounds like me. Yes. Yes. So yeah, Jesse says helps that it helps that you work in a very small town and you're just a banking dollar store. You always say that. Yeah. And it probably does help. I mean, I think that that's great. Again, know yourself, know what your triggers are, know what your environments, like for me, my environment was like, my husband and I were on the same page. That's not good. He was tired. I can't be tired when he's tired. I have to see that he's vibrant enough to do dinner for the kids and I, right? True, we are. So let's think about that. If we know, so this is the give or take. This is where the discipline comes in it. I know. This is where it comes in it, right? Jesse says, advantage of living in the middle of nowhere is nothing delivers here. That's a good thing. That's a good point. She's saying that she only could get groceries. It's hard for her to get fast food. I love that. Now that's good. That's actually a smart move, actually, to be in a place where you're really far out from places where you can do quick order. But it's best not to, one, bring those things in the house, and two, not be in compromising situations with your house. Or Karen, I'm not sure if you live alone or if you live with someone, but it becomes harder if you are living alone or if the persons that you're living with don't have the same values. So we need to set boundaries around our triggers, right? Let's talk about that real quick before we move on, because I know time is getting away. We need to set boundaries around our triggers. I want you to think about this as we get ready to prepare our plan here. What are our boundaries, right? What is a non-negotiable? We need to identify what our non-negotiables are. Karen said, I cannot imagine not having a DoorDash. That is so funny. I just was in Maryland this past weekend visiting my brother-in-law, and he is a driver and his wife is a nurse, and they don't cook at all. And they have 4 adult working children that don't cook either. So the whole weekend, everyone is ordering DoorDash. You just made me think of that, Karen. It was just like literally the doorbell ringing throughout the day for people just in their schedules. Some are out at work, they're coming home later, and they're eating DoorDash. So I think that's pretty funny. It is convenient in the time that we live in, but it's really interesting because we have to think about a lot of factors, not only the triggers, but what are you consuming when you get those items? Yeah, it's a lot of sodium, a lot of MSG, a lot of glyphosate, which is Roundup. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think I'm going to actually write a piece about all of these, like almost like a cheat sheet, if you will, about all the things you need to know about your food, because I think we make these decisions because we just don't know. If I handed you a bag of dirt and told you it was cake, you probably wouldn't eat it, right? None of us would eat that, because we knew it was dirt, right? So it's the same thing. Karen says, sounds like her house. I love it. You cook 25 of the 31 days. Oh, I love you, Jesse. I cook all the time too, except Friday and Saturday. I don't cook. Everyone fends for themselves with leftovers, but or my husband will get something out, and that's fine. So let's think about that. Keep your boundaries in mind, because we have to make sure that we are executing. And I want to say this because my goal of this class was not just to inform you, but to really help you not be in another conversation like this later on. Like, I really want us to get to the next level. I really, really I just want you to hear my heart for a second. I really want you to see your nutrition and your goals as high value priority, right? I don't want you to have to struggle again in a few weeks from now. Not that we won't struggle or have ups and downs, but what I mean is being in the same spot where we're recycling the same time frame when it comes to this particular subject. It is time for us to really just take our health to the next level. It is more than past time. And I know that we all can do it. I know that we all can benefit from this strategy, right? We're going to benefit from this strategy. And so understanding your triggers and your boundaries. Keeping your boundaries around your thoughts, around the people that you come in contact with. And this is another key thing with the food triggers is emotional triggers, right? Many women, like myself, I'll be the first to raise my hand, both my hands and feet. During the time of the month, I really go through some emotional upswings, right? I want chocolate. I want the salt. I want to not be bothered. I am irritable. The percentage of me desiring food while I'm bored is like at a high, even now as a coach, right? And I do know that I have some health reproductive issues going on with me now. I've been recently diagnosed with endometriosis and adenomyosis, which kind of throw me completely haywire sometimes. And I'm trying to really manage that and advocate for myself. My process of advocating has been providing my body with the most alkaline foods that I can, right? But I do recognize that I sometimes have these triggers, right? See, Jessie said it's her right now. Yes, absolutely. It happens, right? It's a real thing. And sometimes I'm in such control of how I eat that it bothers me that I get like that when that time of the month comes. It really, really bothers me. It's like, yeah, Jessie says PCOS. Yes, she said it makes me want to eat all the things, right? Everything. I understand that. I can relate with that so very much. So this is another reason why we need to have boundaries and also pre-planning. We all know when our cycle is coming. We all know when I'm going to families who don't cook, like this past weekend. I was prepared. Like Wegmans pre-packed stuff was my jam this weekend. I went and got the salads. I went and did all the things because I wasn't going to do the Uber Eats or whatever the other services. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But keeping those boundaries in place and keeping something planned ahead of time, knowing that these things are going to occur, helps tremendously, right? So I want you to think about that as we move forward, right? And emotional triggers happen all the time. It's not just the time of the month. It can be conversations with loved ones, right? It could be just frustration at your job. It happens. Frustration. I've seen people get so worked up that they're worked up from the traffic. It's little triggers that happen that throw us off, that we just have to really do the deep work, right? The deep work of understanding who we are, the deep work of understanding what we are thinking about, the deep work that we realize that is causing us to make the choices that we're making. It is important to do that deep work. All right, let's talk about diet management because we're just about here to get into, we're going to have a nice, good 35 minutes or so of building our plan and then our Q&A, which I am excited about. Get yourself prepared right now, whether you need to get some water or get situated, but we're going to dive into this. Now, one thing that we talked about a lot of things, right? I kind of threw things out. If you have any questions before we transition into diet management, because we talked about what diet is, we talked about what nutrition is, we talked about what the differences are between the two. We talked about understanding what type of diet you need to be on. We talked about your goals, triggers, boundaries, all of these things, right? Now we are at a place where we're going to begin to try to put this together in a management style, right? And before I get into, actually, we'll go through this because I have one more slide, and then we'll go ahead and I'll send you in the chat a clickable link of the PDF that we will be actually going off of to plan our food and our grocery list. So I'm going to give you ideas. I know that if you're like me, I have a big house. I have 6 in here right now. So if I were to do this grocery list, mine is pretty big. I spend a good chunk of money on food a month. So this is just to get your juices wet and your ideas going and what that should look like. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in terms of the pre-work, right? So the grocery store is not just going to the grocery store and saying I have all of the things on my list. It's the planning process beforehand, which we're talking about now. So the diet management, if I decide that I'm going to be on a whole foods diet, strictly whole foods, I need to do a lot of things. I need to create a budget. What does that look like? What does eating whole foods look like? I love, love, love going on the app of my grocery store that keeps record of all of my receipts and all the things that I buy to help me to create my grocery list. Some people may not have that. If you don't, that's quite all right. You can go into your cabinets, into your kitchen, look in your refrigerator, and kind of get an idea of what you are in need of, what you're running low on, if you know that you use ketchup a lot and you're going to need to buy ketchup, then you need to add that on your list. If you have 2 jars of mayonnaise, okay, you don't need mayonnaise this time. But I like to use the actual receipts and create a list in my my grocery app, so that way it can kind of give me an idea of what I bought last, and I can check it off when I get into my kitchen. So creating a budget for what you want to achieve with your goal and with your food is super, super, super important. But with creating a budget, you have to know what you have. I cannot tell you how many times, I know Jessie just said something. She said, I actually just signed up for a good chop to get grass-fed and organic meat delivered to my house. Great prices. Wow, that is great. That is a great, great, great idea. It's funny because I never get food delivered. And I just recently did this past weekend when I was in Maryland. We didn't get home till Monday, 3:00 in the morning. And what I did was Sunday night, I ordered my food Instacart for my grocery store to have it ready for pickup. And so it was super, super convenient. So I love the fact that you did that. It also saves you not only time, but overspending. Because I know if I go to the grocery store, I'm going to probably overspend. So look at what you have already in your fridge. I can't tell you how huge this is. I've gone to the grocery store with a list that I thought I had because I think I know everything. I think I know what I already have in my kitchen. I think I know. And here it is. I'll come home and I'll have duplicates, or I would have forgotten something. So I think it's important to truly, truly get into a groove of managing your nutrition intake. It's understanding what you already have in your refrigerator and in your pantry. If you do this, you will save money, you will save time, and you'll be able to manage your grocery list, your budget, as well as your food prepping material ahead of time. This is the biggest part of your success. I know people think it's the logging it into your MyFitnessPal. It's not, because you can log everything in, but if you don't have the proper plan and to know what you're actually going to eat, and you have it planned out, you have the resources, you're not running to the store every other day because you want to get this, or you forgot this from that recipe and you're all over the place, that causes you to be out of sync to your goal. And it can really cause you to relapse, so to speak. That's a word that comes to mind, to relapse, or to be in a position where you're being compromised, right? So I recommend that you find out what you have in your pantry. Think of ways you can use it. I can't tell you how many times I've had things in my pantry, like, for example, quinoa. I don't usually eat quinoa. I buy it because my husband likes it, right? We don't cook. I never cook recipes with quinoa. And I did this same activity. I said, you know what? I'm going to find a recipe or recipes, because I had a whole canister full of it, that I can use over a 2-week period with quinoa. So what I did, I had a breakfast item for quinoa for the kids, and they actually loved it. I had a couple different, dinner recipes. Then I made some and tossed it over my kale salad. So it's so many things that you can do with what you have. You just have to figure out, what that would look like, what recipes you would like to do with those things, right? So I definitely think you should do that. Though these are the steps that you need to take. And then also consider your family, right? Consider what your family is eating and how much they eat. You never want to create a budget and get to the grocery store and then you are out of food by Saturday, Sunday of that same week that you went out. Or if you go to the grocery store twice a month, like I do, you don't want to get just halfway through that time frame and you're not able to meet your goal or meet your family goal. Because, and I say family goal because it is equally important that you make sure that you or in a place where you're not compromising your goals because your family's involved. You want to make sure that that is something that is not going to interfere with what you're trying to do. If some of you saying, you know what, Joyce, that doesn't and will not interfere with me, well, then that's fine. But I know for me, that was a problem. Like I was buying all the things from what I needed. And I was like, oh, they'll be fine. I'll get them this, and my budget was off. There were so many different issues, and so I think it became really, really good for me to combine it all into one. And then we're all eating healthy, right? We're all eating healthy. Jesse says, my issue is I like to cook for an army and there's only 2 of us. Oh, I love it. I love it, Jesse. I do too. I have that same problem. The only problem with that is with me, my family does not like leftovers. So I'll cook like that. And my daughter, God love her, she's 23. She's not here all the time. She's actually waiting now. But when she comes home, she'll eat when I cook a lot. So I do get used to cooking a lot. But I think that's so funny. Yeah. So just keeping that in mind, that you have to be a manager of your diet. A manager of your diet looks like all of these aspects. It looks like what do you have already? It looks like you budgeting your money. It looks like your pantry. And sometimes we'll find, this is another great thing, when we budget our money, when it's around our food management, we'll find that there's things that we don't need and we can actually save. So that's really, really important to consider, is budgeting things out. And you can be saving a whole lot of money just by knowing where you're spending your money. This is another reason why I'll go to the app of my grocery store and I'll look at my previous receipt and I'll say, oh my goodness, I cannot believe that I don't even need that, right? You're doing a self inventory and it's a win-win. You're trying to stay healthy, eat well, feed your family, consistently, and you're saving money. Who doesn't want to save money, especially when gas prices are so high, right? All right, so let's move to the planning and strategy session. I'm excited about this. We're going to access what you have by planning ahead and pre-tracking. And how many of you are familiar with pre-tracking? Where are my pre-trackers? Who tracks their food already? I'm going to send this to you guys in the chat. I'm wondering if you can grab it. I'm not even sure if you can. No, you probably can't. Hold on one second. So sorry about that. I was trying to see if you guys could click on that. Jesse, can you see if you can click on the PDF file? If not, I will. Lois is here. You know what, Lois, that was my error in the beginning. I actually had to go into YouTube and take it off. I didn't realize it was on when I set it up, and I was in StreamYard. I did all of my testing, and I just did not know what it was until like we were 25 minutes into the session. So you didn't miss a whole lot, but you'll get the total recording. And we're about to go over the fun part, which is creating our meal plan. But I wanted to know, okay, Jesse said we can't open it. So what I'm going to do really quickly, if you ladies don't mind, I'm going to send you guys an email. I'm going to remove my face for a moment. I'll send you an email of the actual, the nutrition guide so we can get started. So bear with me one moment. All right, it was just sent. I was able to get it and snag it for you ladies. I'm going to pull it up on my screen so we could, when you open it, we can kind of go through it. I'm excited because it is definitely yours. It's printable, and we're going to walk through the steps of what I recommend when planning your food. Now, we went over a lot of the foundation to this, and I know, Lois, you're just getting in, so I'll do a little recap because I don't want you to feel like you're behind or if you're missing some elements that is foundational. So let me just share my screen. So, all right. You know what? I think I like it better. Let me see. Hold on one second. I'm going to open it this way. This is so exciting because I I didn't realize, you all, until I had really gone through my own trial and error with how ineffective rather, I was with just doing my nutrition. And it wasn't until I really took the time to. Oh, you were here, you just couldn't chat. Oh, good. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Okay, thank you. I'm so glad you were able to be here. Perfect. I really didn't take the time, you all, to really just understand my hiccups, my boundaries that I needed to put in place, my triggers. I understood them, but I never commingled them with the goal and every process when it came to tracking, meal prepping, planning, strategy, what's working, what's not working. Do I have the money for this? All of those things, I never married them. And I really do think, not just from my own personal experience, but the people I coach, they have the same problem. And so this is why I birthed this class, is because I realized that many people struggle with the same things. And I noticed that some people, it was the same thing, but different areas. So for example, some people just had a horrible time putting it into MyFitnessPal. And then there were some people that did that great, but never planned their food, and they were always winging it, and they were always missing their numbers, or they were just completely off. So this is why this class is here. So I hope that you all got the document. Please let me know in the chat. And I'm going to put my screen up. Okay, let's go here. Present it like so. All right, beautiful. I think we're ready to rock. My computer's thinking, oh, good. You got it. Perfect, Jesse. All right. So this is the Jumpstart Nutrition Guide. It's a customized macro prescription and nutrition guide from yours truly. All right. So we're going to get into this. I can't remember how many pages this is, but it's a little, you'll see. We'll get into it. So we're going to customize your prescription in this guide. This is the overall goal. There's a little welcome page about me. So feel free, if you want to print this out once you, I like to tell people when I do provide them with documents like this, it's nice to print out and write on it to get really, really acquainted with the material, the content, and put it in your file. Like I have files, I actually have a whole health planner that I have, and I put my personal stuff in here. I put my goals in here, and this is where I would actually put something like that in. If it's too big, like this is a shorter size binder. I also have, other binders that I keep pertinent things in like that to help me stay on task. I know that many people are not old school like me with the writing everything down, but that just seems to work best for me. And the reason why it works best for me and why I do recommend it to the people I coach. Oh, thank you, Lois. I'm glad you have it. The reason why I do recommend it, because it helps you to see the bigger picture. It's okay to use your phone. I still do use my phone. Like I'll put my meetings in there. I record messages to myself if I want to remind myself of things. If I want to, do anything. Like today, I think I was on my way to the doctor's and I was recording myself a message about a note that I wanted to really talk about or have a conversation about with my next room that I'm going to have on Clubhouse. And I went to go record it. So the phone and digital things are great to use, but there's nothing wrong with seeing the full picture. So I always recommend to write it out, because when you write things out and you see it in a full picture, you're able to see what's working, what's not working, if you forgot anything. And of course I make it fun. I get stickers, right? I get really into it, right? I get stickers. I try to make the planning experience fun and achievable, and also makes me feel like I'm reaching for something. So feel free to print this out and utilize it for towards helping you achieve your goals. All right, nutrition principles. All right, this is important. Food labels. Food labels are very vital and important to understand when navigating food selection. You must be able to understand what is inside each package. if those ingredients support your diet and your health goals, right? I recommend, this is a hard one for some because most packages are marketed to those that are not going to turn the package over, right? If you can't read the actual ingredients, if you don't understand what they say or what they are, and it's more than 5, 6, 7, 8 at the max ingredients, I would just have a red flag about it. Regardless if it says, I don't even know what marketing verbiage they use now because I'm so numb to it. I pretty much go right to the back of the packages, but I'll just say keto for an example because that is a really, you know, prevalent diet that most people get on, but it'll say keto friendly, right? And sure enough, I'll turn it over and I'm like, this is not, it looks like keto friendly, but look at all these other things that a consumer won't look for. So it's really important to understand the food labels, understanding what, you're actually consuming and understanding how that actually fits into the macronutrients that you're going to consume day to day, right? Yes, Jesse says gluten-free stuff for sure. Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. So many things are bad in it. You're right. You're right. And unfortunately, because of the food industry, they're not going to expose you to the truth of the matter. And it's our due diligence to advocate for ourselves with our health, by our nutrition, and putting the right things in the body. That conversation or that thought in the conversation could probably take me to a whole nother level because it just saddens me to know that we are so just misinformed, right? And this is probably why you would hear me come out passionately about this conversation. This is why I am a nutrition coach, because we do need to be coached in these areas. Macros. So macros are the sum of foods we eat that support three main categories of our food consumption, which is our protein, our carbohydrates, and our fats, right? So whatever we eat, they fall into those three categories, right? Even alcohol. Alcohol has sugar in it, but it does fall in the fat section. There actually is a fourth section, but I don't really like to consider that because the numbers, unless you consume a lot of alcohol, that's not even considerable. So protein, carbs, and fats. Proteins and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. And then fat has 9 calories per gram. So if you look at a package and it says it has 25 grams of protein, right? So if it says it has 240 calories of carbohydrates, right? Of that calories, 4 grams per each carbohydrate is in there. So if you ever want to try to figure out those numbers, that's something that you can consider. Just keep in mind that proteins and carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram. Okay. The same thing with fat. All right. So, and nutrition labels, it's a lot. It's a lot of detail that I'm almost thinking about doing, if not a course with all of the detail teaching in it, or some type of teachable book or ebook or something that's tangible digital for you all to get at some point, because I get these questions all the time. To try to navigate your own health is really difficult if you don't know the numbers. It's almost like going somewhere and you're going roller skating and you bring ice skates, right? That's the best way I can put it. You have ice skates on a place where you would roller skate, or vice versa. It's kind of hard to maneuver if you don't understand what each thing is and how to read it. Yeah, so let's move on. Personalized daily intake. So on average, a woman, this is just on average, should receive 2,000 calories per day of food consumption. Which, if we did the breakdown, it'll be 100 grams of protein, 200 grams of fat, 40 grams of, or 200 grams of carbs, 40 of fat, right? Of course, this is definitely just a general, super, super general list, right? So keeping in mind that, which we'll talk about, I do recommend you finding out what your numbers would be based on your goal based on your age, based on your weight. All of those things can be calculated in one of the apps that I use for my clients, which is easy for me to be able to engage with them on what they're doing. Is my Fitness Pal Jessie, who is my client. She's on here as well. She uses that, and it helps me to see what they do. But it gives a great, overall what you're supposed to do based on your age, weight, and your goal. So we'll talk about that shortly here. And so this is an example of what your macros would look like. Meal one for protein, 25 to 35 grams, right? I love things like fish, right? Fish, to those that love fish, I love salmon. It's a great protein, and it has about 35, some 36 grams of protein in it, which is really, really good, especially for us women, because we do need those omega fatty acids, which are in that level of protein. But this is just a little chart of what it should look like, right? So when you do your numbers, when we go into the app, this is what it should look like, okay? Please ask questions if you have them as I'm going on based off of what I'm showing you. We will have an overall question at the end, but I do want to make sure that you are, you're not passing anything if you have any questions. And again, this is just basic stuff. If you have questions for me to elaborate, I'd be more than happy to do so. A recommended food list. I put this together as just what I said, a recommended food list that you can use to kind of gauge what are some options that you could to use. I even put supplements in there. I get questions about supplements all the time. Multivitamins are king. They are so essential to have. I think you should get them. Just make sure that they're sourced properly and that they're doing what they need to do when they enter the body. Some places make multivitamins and they are not beneficial to the overall processing and uptake of the body. So you intake it, but it doesn't uptake to do anything. And you need to make sure that you have the proper source. Do your research. If you need some more navigation with that, just send me an email or a DM, and I'll be more than happy to give you some of my recommendations. Fish oil is super, super important. Fish or krill oil are really, really good. Like I mentioned before with the omegas. Magnesium, definitely need that. Vitamin D, we are all depleted of that living in America, I should say. I'm not sure about the other countries. I haven't checked their numbers. But in our country, this is something that many of us struggle with in deficiency. Probiotics I'm put there, but I'm a little leery about where we get our probiotics from. Remember, pro and prebiotics are two separate things, right? The prebiotics feeds the probiotics. So basically, the prebiotics feeds the bacteria that is in the gut, right? It helps to feed the probiotics. The probiotics is actually to be able to be consumed with what's already in the microbiome. So it's definitely good, but you want to make sure that you have the right type of environment already. And I'm big on reset. I just did a big reset with Purium. Purium is a company that I actually support when it comes to high alkaline food that I've actually been taking. Their supplements, I've been feeling really good. Again, it has helped me in my, my chronic illness. And so things like that are really important, but knowing your levels and knowing where you are, I would recommend either a microbiome test, which they do offer. If you're interested in that, I have some doctors that I'm connected with that could help you navigate where to go for that. I think it's important to eat foods that are high in fiber, which help to support the microbiome, and to also drink lots and lots and lots of water, hydrate yourself, and calcium, which we all know helps the bones. I started with supplements because I'm real passionate about that, because most people do not take supplements. We do not get what we need from our food. And that's just period. We just don't. Our source of food has been so depleted. And I'll hang my hat by saying, please watch the film Kiss the Soil. I think that's what it's called. My memory serves me correctly. It's a Netflix film that talks about how our soil has been depleted, as well as our crops and our produce, which helps you to kind of rethink your buying decisions when you go grocery shopping. So just keep that in mind. As a follow-up to this masterclass, I'll put that in the email, as well as a couple other documentaries that have been super supportive to my decisions in general, as not just a coach, but a nutrition coach, but as an individual. And it's really supportive of a lot of studies, medical studies that are reputable, that are peer reviewed, that I have been, reading on and have been engaged with. So with that said, this is definitely a full recommended list of some ideas. Many of you probably already know a lot of these things, like the nuts, the extra virgin olive oil, chia seeds, Swiss chard. But there's so many recipes out there that you can get to support any of these recommended lists, right? There's so many things you can do. As you notice, the carbohydrate section, those carbohydrates are not refined carbohydrates. These are the ones that really process in the body much slower. Buckwheat is amazing. In fact, I just made an amazing buckwheat banana loaf bread that was super, super amazing. So you want to make sure that your list is based off of your diet, like we talked about, whatever your diet is. This is something similar to how I would eat in my diet, but yours may change. If you're a vegan, that protein section will look totally different outside of the lentils, right? So you want to be mindful of that. So this is yours to actually, you could cross off, add to, or keep, okay? Now let's look at foundational guidelines. Water intake is king as well. You want to make sure you're drinking enough water. You want to make sure that my recommendation is half your body weight. So if you're 230 pounds, I would recommend you have 115 ounces of water in your uptake, okay, daily. Protein intake, 0.36 grams per pound that you weigh is what I would recommend, unless you work out. If you work out like someone like me, where I do heavy lifting, constantly doing HIIT workouts, or I'm challenging my body to another level, I would recommend half your body weight in protein. Your daily macros, it's listed here. You want to do 45 to 65% of your daily calories for carbs, 20 to 35% from fats, and 10 to 35% from protein. As we mentioned earlier, total daily calories should be 2,000 for us women, and it's 2,500 for men. But again, it's all based on your overall numbers, which is your weight, your height, your age, and your goals. Pre and post workout meals. I am big on fasted workouts. I would say that, but everybody's different. So if you feel like you need to eat something before a workout because you just feel like, I need to eat something, that's fine. What I would do is eat a banana. That's a good carb that will get your body going and replenished, or an apple with a little bit of peanut butter on it. Anything like that is totally fine. For post-workout, I would just go ahead and eat protein. Eggs are great. And don't forget your branch chain amino acids. They help to restore the weight, the actual muscles that you have torn down. And resources. I love this. I know many of you have heard of MyFitnessPal, but I'm not sure if you utilize it in the effective way that you can to really engage your goals. I love it because you can actually invite accountability into it. I actually look at all of my clients through MyFitnessPal when I'm tracking with them. We talk every day. We're looking at how they're progressing. I'm looking at all their numbers. They're looking at my stuff. It is like a win-win. So I really do like that app. For those that are following a diet that is on the low carb side, Carb Manager is definitely a carb focused meal tracker. And I have used that when I was on keto. I did lose a good amount of weight on keto. I'm not against keto, but I do think that keto does not support a long-term goal or habit. I really do believe that. And it does not support many of our long-term goals. It is really good to kind of get your body regulated, but it's definitely something that I don't necessarily recommend as a consistent way of dieting. So grocery list, which we talked about, I love the writing it down method, or we could do resource number 4, which is using your electronic device. I love Evernote. Evernote is my best friend. I put tasks in there, I put grocery lists in there, and I sync them so that way they really can meet my need when I'm at the grocery store. I love it. And I have a check off list as well, just in case I need to do that. Now, here's a shopping list that you can create, right? Now, I know that we just went over the recommended food list just a little bit ago. Now it's your turn to think about what you want to do and create on your shopping list. What type of fruits and vegetables do you want to get? What type of dry or canned goods do you want to get? Right? What type of snacks do you want to get? What are you going to buy snacks or are you going to make snacks? Let's think about what we're going to put on our shopping list. And I'm hoping that you all could print this out at some point and put this to use, right? Having it categorized is so good. I even have gone to the extent of putting it in order of the grocery store. Like literally putting it in like, okay, the fruits and vegetables is the first thing I see when I go in, and then the meats, and then the breads and grains, and then it's the canned goods, and then it's the snack. Like, so if it makes it easier for you to do it that way to just have it aesthetically set up in a certain way so you can respond more organized and not feel like you're all over the place, because I must say that this will feel overwhelming if you don't have this plan, right? And this is what I'm referring to with having a strategy. It's having this all down, figuring this out. Like I spend Sundays doing things like this, or sometimes Friday nights when my husband wants to catch up on a game or a movie. I'm not a movie person, so that may not fit your suit. Maybe you are a movie person or you like to do things. I'm more of a homebody, surprisingly, but I sit at home and I make the time. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, right? You can actually spend an hour, especially if you're real intimate with the grocery shopping. You can also spend an hour and get it organized and send it on Instacart and have it delivered. There's so many things that you can do to alleviate the stress and create proper boundaries. I know for me, there was a point in time that I enjoyed going to the grocery store because I would then stop and get something, or I would buy things that were not on my list. If you feel like that is something that is a trigger for you or outside of your boundaries for staying consistent, then there's other ways. I enjoyed ordering from Instacart the other day. It was like a breath of fresh air. And I've never done that because I've always been the one I want someone to pick my food out a certain way, but they did a pretty good job. It's nothing wrong with trying to, have someone else do that for you. So let's make our shopping list. What would you put down there? I'm not sure if you're able to write on it now, but even if you want to sketch this out and then maybe save it to this document when you do print it out. I couldn't make this edit or, clickable. However, it is yours to write on, to think about, and see how it is aesthetically set up. All right, 3-day food journal. This is the great part here, because I think it's equally important. As a nutrition coach, I find that you need to understand how food is making you feel, right? And I put this in here because even when you set up your grocery list, even when you get to the grocery store and you do all the things and you got all the things in the cart and you come home and you even meal prep for the week, and which we're going to get ready to do. We're going to do our 7-day meal plan. It's good to have something like this to identify what you ate and how you felt. The app can do this too. But again, I put this in there for you just so you can get an idea of what this may look like for you. I love, I reiterate writing things out so I can see the full picture right in front of me. I don't have to scroll to another page. I don't have to go back and forth. It's just right here. For lunch, I had this day. I had this that day. This is how I felt, etc., etc. All right, let's get into the meal planner. Does anyone have any questions before we do this? I want to do this together, and I want you to share with the audience what you have in mind. I know this is a lot to think about, especially if you have a big family like I do. I have 6 people in my house, and this could seem a little overwhelming to do at one spot. But I want us to at least look at one day, right? Let's look at one day. I know the hour's a little late. It's 9:12. We did start a little late. But let's think about what, after we looked at and thought about a shopping list, right? There's tons of ideas available. We talked about my recommended food list, right? Even with the snacks and the healthy fats and vegetables and proteins, etc. What do you want to start with? What would you eat for breakfast that is in line with your diet? If I were putting together my breakfast for my diet, which is whole foods, I would have eggs, but I would have one whole egg and 3 egg whites. And I would have a half cup of oatmeal with fresh blueberries is what I would have. For lunch, I would have a full salad. I mean, when I say full salad, I mean all the things like 7 to 10 cups of lettuce of your choice. It could be kale, it could be spinach, it could be anything green that you love, cabbage or Brussels sprouts rather. I've had Brussels sprouts salad before. It's delicious. And I would load it with my raisins. I would put pumpkin seeds on there, hemp seeds, tomato, cucumbers, peppers, red onions. So get creative. And I think we need to recognize that lunch is very, very important to your success when it comes to your goal, to any goal, whether it's losing weight, gaining weight. I know many people rant and rave about breakfast. Breakfast is important, but lunch is the amount of food that you're going to eat that's going to sustain you. The majority of people have a harder time. I'm not saying all people, but the majority of people have a harder time in the night hours or after dinner or before dinner when it comes to successful eating. So to prevent that, we want to infuse our body with high quality, nutritious food, right? So not the refined food, not the processed food. We want to eat whole foods. And salad is such a great food choice at lunch because, one, you're getting all your greens in. And might I add, for breakfast, I can throw spinach in there because I do agree that you should eat vegetables at every meal. I think it's very important to do that. So sometimes what I do is I'll throw some peppers or spinach, or sometimes I'll just steam broccoli with my breakfast. And then for lunch, I'll have that big salad with some pommes on there, or a slice of 4-ounce slice of chicken breast, or 4-ounce piece of salmon on my salad, or sometimes just the salad. And that's fine because I already have protein sources on it, like the pumpkin seeds and the hemp seeds, right? So you want to make sure that your lunch is juicy, okay? For dinner, you want to make sure that if you have a carb, which carbs are fine, that it's a high complex carb, right? So it's your sweet potatoes, it's your your starchy broccolis, or quinoa is a really good choice for dinner. Butternut squash is amazing. I actually make that now where I'll get it already pre-cut at the grocery store, and I'll boil it for a little bit to get it soft. And I'll just mash it with my fork and add a little butter and some vegan Parmesan cheese on there. I do eat meat, but I just don't eat cheese like that. So I use the vegan Parmesan on there, and it is delightful. And I'll have that with my lean meat of choice. And I always say lean meat because you want to stay away from meats that are really, really fatty and that are really high in cholesterol. You want to make sure that you have a lean meat such as your fish, your lean chicken breast, turkey in some occasions, and what else you can do? Tuna is good. You can do any type of fish or shrimp. Those things are really, really good, and the protein content is good. And I also eat a lot of vegetables at dinner. So the broccoli, I mean, like 2 or 3 big cups of broccoli. Your plate, I wish I had a plate up here, but your plate should be half of vegetables, and the other half should fit your protein and your complex carbohydrate. That's how your plate should always look. You should always have half of the plate full of vegetables. And when we do that, we begin to cause our microbiome to respond differently. The communication that you feel when you have, how you have a day where you eat pizza or you eat processed foods, and then the next day it's kind of hard to get back in the groove of things, and you kind of like maybe go back into the same groove of eating poorly. And the more you do that, your stomach begins to almost get like an identification of what's going on with you, right? It'll start craving certain things, right? Those processed chemicals in your body have signals that talk to your microbiome, that talk to your brain gut. There's a book out called Gut Brain, I think it's called, or something similar to that. There's tons of books out there about your second brain, which is considered your gut, that sends false communication to the brain up here, right? And so when it does that, we make decisions that are not necessarily in line with our goals or our boundaries or our, our diet, and we begin to get in this cycle. So that's how the cycle continues, is we're not training our microbiome and training our palates, right? Training our palates to, just come clean. We have to do that. And there is a way to restart and revitalize yourself when it comes to your palate. I tend to do this a couple times a year just to reset myself. But a nice cleanse with clean products really does help you set the tone. You're ending up fasting, which is phenomenal. Intermittent fasting is super, super phenomenal to the body. It helps to regenerate your cells. It pretty much does the cleanup. That's what intermittent fasting does. It puts you into a space where your body has reached autophagy, which is where the body begins to eat away at the things that don't belong, and you get to reproduce new cells. So it's a good way to reset your palate as well. So I often talk about fasting in my coaching programs because resetting is important. Your liver needs that rest. We do overindulge in things, or have overindulged in things over the years. And keep in mind that what you did last weekend, if it was a poor choice, is like a drop in a bucket, or a piece of hay in a haystack, right? If we've been eating poor for years, that's what we have to reverse. So we have to reverse those DNA changes, because that's what poor eating does. It does help to alter our DNA pattern, and it does alter. It really basically changes the way our organs respond later on. So what I did in my 20s is going to show up now, right? Over time, that's what happens. That's why it's so important to take the time to be intentional and deliberate, right? To make those those right choices now, to reverse some of these things, right? And I can go on and on about that, because there are several diseases that are hard to reverse after you've gotten to a place, one of which is hardening of the arteries. It's something that's not reversible, but you can slow its progression down by eating right. But it is something that could cause blockages. It can cause so many things. My grandmother died of having congestive heart failure, but it was because she had hardening of the arteries, where she couldn't get the blood flow, and it's from years of eating poorly. So this is something that we should think about when we do fall off the wagon, or we think about decisions. These decisions that, if these things that we do, that when I say fall off the wagon, we come out of our regimen. That's probably the best way to say it. When we come out of that too frequently, right? Or we're doing it, if you catch yourself like, girl, you're doing this like every weekend, come on, like we got to pull it together. That's a whole nother story versus you doing it every several weeks, and you're at an outing and you enjoy yourself for the moment. That versus every weekend is totally different, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing self-inventory, that we're really, really taking a deep dive. I'm sure you didn't purchase this class just to purchase it, right? I'm sure you all that wanted to just make the change, right? And find out what is working. I recommend that when you're writing out, and I'm hoping that everyone's thinking about what their meal plan would be. I just gave you a suggestion for what I would do on a Monday. My snacks would be carrots, celery, or sometimes nothing, because I'm not hungry, because I've eaten so much and I'm good. But I'm hoping that you took this course to really, really just take your health and wellness to the next level, and not be in a situation where you're compromised, to not be in a situation where you're falling all the time, where you're really taking control. You have control. You can do this. You can do this. This is something you've done before, I'm sure, right? How many of us have said when we were younger, I used to lose weight all the time, or I used to gain weight all the time, or I was so good at eating right until what? Until you got to a certain age, or you had children, or you got married. Those things happen. Most people, when they get married, it's a high percentage that both spouses gain weight, right? It's a high percentage when we go through traumatic events like COVID-19 that we gain weight. So we do have to be strategic about this. And I'm praying that you all see that what I've shared with you today are the pieces to a strategy that you can execute if you take your time and kind of decide on how you want to eat, decide on what your goal is, decide on what resources you're going to use to capture everything, to plan ahead. Because most people, again, I say this all the time, they plan ahead based off of putting it on the app. And I do agree with putting it in the app ahead of time, because sometimes on Sundays I'll just load up the app and put everything in there that I'm going to eat because I planned it out for the week, right? There's nothing wrong with that. That part is good. But we mess up by not planning out because how many know that we can do all that, but if I don't actually do it because I forgot to go to the store, or I can't do that because I don't have enough money, or I can't do that because somebody ate all the chicken that I bought because I didn't have it all planned out and marked and labeled and communicated, it becomes a problem. So I want you to look at this as not only a task to do, but something that is definitely achievable if you take the time and the energy to commit, right? And again, once you get the swing of this, a lot of what I do, I don't do like I did when I first started because I have it on repeat. I have the items listed in my grocery list at Wegmans when I have it. I just click it. I go in, I say, okay, I'm going to want all these things again. This is what I don't have. I have a whole system in my house of when I know how many vegan mayonnaise I'm going to need for a 2-week span. My son loves mayonnaise and he loves tuna. And he eats tuna every single day. And sometimes my husband does. So I get 2 jars of tuna and they last me 2 weeks. So keeping inventory becomes easier too. Because you know what the staples are. Know what your staples are. Know when you need to replenish on those. All right. Does anybody have any questions? How are you making out with deciding what you want to eat? And let's talk about the weekend too, as you're thinking about questions that you may have. Let's think about the weekend. How many of you cook on the weekend? If you cook on the weekend, let me know. And I want to know what that looks like. If you go out on the weekend, I want to know where do you go? Or if you order out. On Saturday and Friday, Jesse, I knew you would say you cook. I don't cook. We usually go out, actually. We'll find somewhere that is good and healthy to eat. And if we don't, like for an example, if it's a burger joint or something like that, like prime example, we go to Chick-fil-A sometimes. The kids will eat the grilled chicken. My husband will get that and I'll get a salad. So you want to be, yes, I cook on Sunday too. That's great. I cook Sunday as well, or I solicit my husband to help me cook on Sundays. But if you're going out and you know that, try to plan it. Like this Saturday and Sunday, we have lacrosse tournaments for my girls. So I'm already thinking like, whew, it's going to be outdoors 9 to 3 all day, both days. I'm packing, or I know where we're going to eat, right? So just always be mindful week to week what you're going to plan to do. So this is going to cause you to take more control over your life, which I'm learning even as I get older, that every moment of my life needs to be planned. And I know that sounds a little controlled, right? I don't know about you, but I feel like that sometimes. Like, oh, it's just so controlled. I can't like just be loose and just loosey-goosey, right? It's fine to be like that every now and again, but I think when you want to have fulfillment in terms of reaching a destination or a goal, it's good to have it structured. And you know what? I feel so good when I go to bed and I realize that I have everything in order. Like I already know what is the plan. And then I can successfully execute. And it helps my children as well. They already know the system. This is the system. So we can't execute this beautiful meal plan or any aspect of the planning process, whether it's the tracking in the my tracker, whether it's the grocery list, whether it's knowing what you're going to start doing, unless you execute them all and plan a system around that and plan a system. And then you also, and to add to that, with planning a system and knowing what your system and what works for you. Right now, this is personal. Know what works for you. So if the digital works for you, go with it. But you need to stick with it. I don't want you to leave this course or this class and you haven't executed on these tasks. Because if you don't, you're going to be in a situation where we're back here again. So my hope is that you take the time and actually see how it goes. Just like with dieting, we don't want to start a keto diet and only do 3 days because you're not going to see the results, right? Jesse says, I think one of the best things I do is I put my lunch the night before in my fitness pal. So that way I do not have to worry about it at lunchtime. I already have it planned. Oh my goodness. That is half the battle. Because another thing too, if you're anything like me, I love tracking my goals of any kind, my business goals, my health goals, my marriage goals, my financial goals. I'm always like, okay, this is the number. This is what I need to get to, or this is the number for me for today. Can I get there? It's good to keep the momentum going of the desire to change too. So I think, Jesse, I think that's great. There is a client that I have which I've done in the past too. She does the whole week. And I go in and I know what she's going to eat. And she confirms at our coaching meeting at the end of the week that she did it. So it's something to really consider. It's something really, really, really to consider. Does anyone need help with the meal planning process? Everything that I share, I feel like I shared a whole lot. And I think the biggest takeaway out of all the 3 keys that I need you to focus in on is understanding your diet, and understanding how you are going to implement that diet and what that plan looks like for you. Those are the 3 keys that I need you to take away from this course. Lois says, would you say 4 weeks to see how the diet works? I get frustrated when I don't see a change and then I fall off. I personally would say 8 to 12 weeks. 4 weeks, we have to consider a lot of things. Your hormones, we have to consider the adjustment that the body is taking on something different. It's an uptake. So it's a process. You have to be very patient. I think 4 weeks is not enough. That's just my own opinion, seeing other clients doing the same thing. Like, yeah, I think you should wait at least 8 weeks at the max. I'm saying at the max, at the least. 8 weeks at the least, 12 weeks at the max. That's what I would say. And just give it grace, like enjoy it. Like I really just get into it. Get into the moment, get into how you feel, get into all of it and just capture it. Just start recording it. When I say record it, see your gains. Like, okay, today's this day. This is how I felt. This is that may work for you. It may not work for you, but it has worked for many of my clients. And some of my clients are like, what? I don't do that. And it's so fun. It's so fun. And you get your body. And that's another thing. When you give off energy where you're excited about something, that's a hormone release. That opioid hormone that you naturally give off, it's going to bring some pleasure to you. I'll just say that. Good. Awesome, Lois. Any other questions? I'm so glad you guys have this. I want you to be able to fill this out and complete it. I do want to hear back from you all via email of how you guys are doing with this. If you can do that, because I'm so personal, right? I love helping people. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. And those of you that are interested in working with me because you feel like you need someone to hold you accountable, I do have that option. If you're interested, I can send you the link for that. That's definitely not a problem. Some people feel like they need someone to hold their hand through the process and kind of get them going. I'm totally open to that. I think Jessie, she actually puts her stuff in and we talk all the time. And I think that does help a whole lot. So you just let me know if you're interested in that. I will send you the link for that. And it's something, oh, and the great thing about that is that you get a chance to be a part of our book club as well. The last book that we've been doing, and we haven't really convened in this big book that I say big book, but it is, I have it right here, Atomic Habits. It is so good. If you do not have it, we're going to probably go through this with it through the rest of May because there's so much meat in there and it really does help you build sustainable habits. And then the conversations with the other people in the program really do help you just stay accountable. And I just think it's so good. Okay, so you're now eating every 2 to 3 hours, but don't always feel hungry. Why are you eating that way? I just want to ask the question. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I just want to know why. Are you working out a lot? Are you So the only guess I didn't see you say anything just yet. You might be still typing. The only thing that I would ask or guess that you're doing that to support your body's unction to want to eat out of turn. You're trying to adapt a frequent eating habit to increase metabolism. That's great. So what time do you eat? What time do you eat in the morning to start your metabolism? Resetting your metabolism can be a challenge in general. So I'm assuming that if that's what you're trying to do, not a lot, 30 minutes, 3 times a week. Oh, your exercise. Okay. Okay. So metabolism is sometimes a challenge to reboot it. I would love to know what you're actually eating. I think it's okay to eat every 2 to 3 hours. 8 a.m. first meal, you probably go all the way to what, 5, 8 hour window. What I would do is, I think that that's fine. I would definitely, how long have you been doing it? I'm wondering, how long have you been doing it like that? Yeah, when we try to reset our metabolism, it all depends on what foods we're using. It all depends on how long we've been not experiencing our metabolic shift. So if we are lacking, if our metabolism is sleeping, oh, 3 days. Okay. So yeah, I don't think anything's wrong with that. To not feel hungry is normal when your metabolism is not set properly. I do think eating that way could increase your metabolism, but I would see if you could have that tested. I know that, so here's the thing. I'm a nutrition coach and I love, love, love coaching people, right? But I also love getting the real reports from, people that run tests like that. They're like, for example, there's people that run tests on your microbiome to see how healthy it is. I'll be the first one to give you a protocol and say, go get a gluten test or go get this test. I really think you should get tested to see where your level actually is for your metabolism, to see how much repair or food repair you need to do. I'm a person of markers. Like I really need to know where, like the same analogy I give about getting in the car and just going. The health industry portrays that that it's crazy because there's so much information out there that people will take anything and they're doing a bunch of things and nobody knows if it's working or not. I think it's important to have a protocol. This is why I say to do the diet that you choose for a certain period of time, whatever that may be. And I don't know your full story. Like I haven't done a health assessment on you at all. And but what I would say is I would definitely, if you know that if that's why you're doing that, I would recommend getting tested to find out where your metabolism is so you can kind of gauge what food protocol you need to get you to the place you need to be. So I hope that helps. But I'm the one to send you off for sure to get you the numbers because that's how I coach. I coach off of the facts. This is what this is. If says A, then it's A. I don't want to get into a habit of how most people absorb our American way of nutrition by just guessing because of you had an itch, basically. So I hope that sums it up for you. And I absolutely love that you all were here. Thank you to those that will be catching the replay. I love and appreciate you for taking the time to invest in yourself and into what I had to offer you. If anyone has any further questions after we sign off of this masterclass, I will be delighted to connect with you. I'm very personable and I love talking to my clients off platforms like this. So feel free to DM me or email me or reach out if you have a question. I'm here to support. And again, if you are considering eventually working with me or desiring some type level of accountability that I have to offer, I will be delighted to email you what that is. And in fact, I'll just pin it here really quickly so you can see it. But basically what, right, it's here. Basically what it is an accountability and nutrition strategy sessions, right? It's originally $250 a month, but I would definitely give it to my master classers for $25 off every month because you are part of this master class. So if you're interested, again, I don't know if you can see the full scope, but basically it is, let me actually put it in here. Basically it is all of what you would need to get you going in terms of your strategy, your protocol, we would discuss your why and all of your goals and your meal logs. We will do all of that together. You'll have Q&A support all the time. And I will help make dietary adjustments as needed. And then the book club, of course. So there is the link there. And again, I'm here if you have any questions about that. So I'm glad that you all stayed on. This is like 9:41 on a Thursday. And I'm just glad that you guys are here and that you've been a part of this actual class. Without you, we would not have had a class. So thank you so much for your participation. And enjoy the guide that I gave you. And again, please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm hoping that you were served. I will be sending you out a survey. If you could be so kind to submit the survey to me to help me really support my efforts in serving my community like this, that will be super, super helpful to me. And I thank you all. If there's no other questions, I thank you all for being here. So I'll wait about 30 seconds to see if there's another question. If not, we'll go ahead and shut it down. And there is my comment, the last comment of the room, which is I appreciate you all so, so very much. And you have an amazing evening. And I will see you all soon. I'm sure you all will see me around, and enjoy your night. Take care.